Call to order the Greenwood Redevelopment Commission on this, the 8th day of June of 2021. We'll have a roll call, please.
Mr. Campbell?
Here.
Mr. Harris?
Present.
Mr. Hopper?
Here.
Mr. Hoover?
Here.
Mr. Moan?
Here.
And non-voting advisor, Mr. Alexander?
Here.
Thank you.
We have a quorum. Is there a motion to approve our minutes from our May 11th meeting? A motion. Second. Motion by Mr. Harris, second by Mr. Moan. Any discussion, deletions, corrections? Hearing and seeing none, roll call, please.
Actually, I'll make it.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Since we're all here.
Since none of our voting members
Are
are
absent.
participating by video.
Okay.
The roll call rule doesn't apply.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, nay? Minutes are passed unanimously. All right, new business, resolution 2021-11, a resolution approving an application for property tax deductions for certain personal property located within Worcester Road Economic Development Area, Nachi Technology, Inc. The floor is yours, Christian.
All right, thank you very much. Good afternoon. My name is Christian Maslowski. I'm the CEO of Aspire Economic Development and Chamber Alliance, and we've been very pleased and honored to work with one of the companies, longstanding companies, members of our business community here in Greenwood on a special expansion project, and they are here seeking a personal property tax abatement. It's my honor to introduce Bob Kamasara, who's the president of Nachi Technology, Hiro Nunokawa, who's the controller and treasurer of Nachi Technology, and I'm also pleased to introduce to you Amy McDonald, who is the director of client services from KSM Location Advisors. You've had several folks from KSM here before you before. Amy is new to Greenwood, and so it's our pleasure to introduce Amy. We have been working with KSM on this project. So thank you very much for your consideration, and I'll turn over to Amy.
Thanks, Christian, and thank you to everybody here for making time for us today. As he said, my name is Amy McDonald. I'm from KSM Location Advisors. I'm a director in the group. Here also with Bob Kamasara to present an expansion project that they are embarking upon. So I'm just going to invite Bob up here to give a little bit of background on the company. I know you guys already know them, and also a little bit about the project.
Thank you, Amy. As she mentioned, my name is Bob Kamasara, and I've been president of Nachi Technology for about 6 years now. Prior to that, I was with Nachi in various positions, sales and business development, for a total of 12 years of my career. Nachi is a manufacturer, Nachi Technology is a manufacturer of precision bearings for the automotive industry. One of our largest customers is Honda, and we supply through our sister company in Mexico. Nachi supplies either from Greenwood or from Querétaro. The many bearings for used in all of the transmissions for front-wheel drive vehicles that Honda builds in North America. So we'll be able to continue that with the new project that we're talking about and we're seeking the abatement for. But I'll get to that in a moment. Nachi, background on Nachi itself is we're a manufacturer of precision bearings globally. We've got plants in Europe and Asia, Mexico, and obviously in Greenwood. The major products we provide is double row bearings. They're used in air conditioning compressor clutches. We have a dominant market share in that product globally. And we're also a major manufacturer of driveline bearings for front-wheel drive shafts. The Nachi Fujikoshi is in Toyama, Japan. That's a publicly traded company. In 2009, Nachi America consolidated all of their 5 operations to Greenwood, Indiana. We had manufacturing here since 1989, but we were very split out between the robotics division as well as the tools division and some of the other divisions. We were scattered across the country and consolidated that into Greenwood in 2009, with the exception of our robotics business. Since then, Greenwood Nachi Greenwood has been working together with the local governments and also partnering with the communities for a number of different projects. For example, we recognize our commitment to clean environment. We did some storm drain, the nature center for the storm drain area right here in downtown. We spent 3 years there cleaning that up, planting, native grasses and trees and things. We're also we're a strong participant of Honda's Week of Service, which is doing something in the area of sustainability. From that, we've been able to work and benefit the Johnson County food outreach, also with the battered women's shelter. And last time we had it was a backpack drive where we collected school supplies for Johnson County children. So certainly NACHI's demonstrated their commitment to supporting our communities that we live and work in. Next slide, please. Where do I do that? Okay, NACHI's located off of Cushville Road, and as you can see in the photograph here, the green box shows the property which NACHI owns. So we have plenty of property yet to expand in the future. Okay, but I'm here to talk about the expansion for additional new bearings that we're going to be utilizing to provide Honda with the transmission gearbox that will go into the hybrid electric vehicles, which Honda is committed to for the future. That will require approximately a $9 million investment. And what it will do, will be adding machinery and additional employees to NACHI Greenwood. The expansion will include machinery from grinding machinery to specialized assembly machinery that will assemble bearings for those gearboxes. And we will be hiring approximately 10 people associated with that program, but having the equipment will also allow us to expand that business beyond Honda to other general customers. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Amy, who will tell you a bit more about the details of the program. Thank you, gentlemen.
So as Bob said, it'll be $9 million of investment, but it'll also be the creation of 10 new jobs. Average wage about $18 an hour without benefits. And it'll also be the retention of their current 65 jobs, which is approximately $28 an hour. Jobs to be hired would include skilled trade laborers, assembly, machine operator type positions. And I also think it's worth mentioning, the $18 an hour is without benefits, but NACHI does have a pretty robust health plan, which is great for their employees. They spend approximately $1,400 per month per employee, so it's a great benefit for them. Just a little bit about the impact to Greenwood. So again, $9 million of investment, 10 new jobs through the end of 2024. Even with tax abatement, NACHI does generate a significant amount of personal property tax liability. If the request for a 7-year abatement was approved, we just ran a couple models to kind of show the tax impact, but they would be paying approximately $314,340 in personal property taxes over the life of the abatement, which would be 7 years. If we were looking at a 10-year time frame, that would be approximately $532,800 in property taxes paid. And then once the abatement ran out after 7 years, we would estimate that their annual personal property tax liability would be approximately $72,820, and that would be in addition to what they already pay on their existing equipment. So, just to kind of conclude our presentation, We're respectfully requesting support for a 7-year personal property tax abatement. And just kind of some things to take into consideration. US headquarters, has been established in Greenwood since 2009. They're a very large employer of skilled trade laborers for the area's residents. And they've been, as Bob kind of outlined, they've been a great employer and a great community partner for the area. And just the fact that this installment of equipment will generate an additional $72,000 per year on top of what they already pay. So, with that, does anybody have any questions?
I do, only because, so last night we approved, I think, 3 abatements for Nachi. 2 of them, as I recall, of all the days for me to leave my iPad at home, so I don't have it in front of me, so I'm going off just memory. So I think it was 2019 paid 20, there were 145 jobs. 2020 paid 21, it was down to like 106, and then this one we approved last night, which I think was for 21 paid 22, was down to 63 jobs. So I was just kind of wondering if somebody could speak to what is happening exactly there.
One of the projects that we manufacture, in fact, approximately, well, actually over 50% by volume of our production went into the one product called tripod rollers, which are used for the front wheel drive axle shafts. And there are 6 per car if it's, it's 2-wheel drive, and possibly 4 per car, or 12 per car if it's 4-wheel drive. Our largest customer, who I won't name, who's also the global leader in that particular product, which Nachi had a long-standing relationship with, was purchased by a private equity firm. And the private equity firm was very demanding. For example, I have a hand in their sales as well, and just about everybody we knew in sales or in engineering and purchasing, a month later after the acquisition was gone. They just slashed people, and they came to their suppliers, particularly their large suppliers like Nachi, and demanded price reductions, and otherwise that they would resource the product to a Chinese competitor. So Nachi Fujikoshi in Japan made a strategic decision to relocate the global production of that particular product to 3 locations globally. One was in China, where Nachi has a fairly good footprint. One was in Mexico, and one was in the Czech Republic. So in the past 2.5 years, we've been scaling down our business and moving lines to Mexico, which currently satisfies those requirements. That business is growing, but well, I'll just give you an example. We're at the tail end of the project of moving out. We're not going to release any additional individuals. We're at the point where we've stabilized from that. But we had significant losses last month just because of that business. The pricing levels are not one at which we can compete. And it's not just the hourly wage we pay, because I think our manning is a lot better than what we do in Mexico, even though their wages are very low. But there's some other structural things that are very expensive. For example, transportation, 16% greater transportation to move products from Asia, either a supplier plant in China or from our parent company in Japan, to Greenwood as opposed to going to Mexico. Well, that's because it has to go to a West Coast port, get on train comes to Chicago truck picks it up and brings it to us. Plus on the bearing products, plus an almost 10% duty of importing. So, there are some things that make us uncompetitive. At one time, when we built that facility, we were doing very, very well. As I mentioned, with the recent developments, it changed the ballgame quite a bit. So that's why we're interested in this new investment in the Honda business. Because Honda is a much more stable company. We've enjoyed their business since 2014 here. As I mentioned before, we're going to have at least 1 bearing and possibly as many as 5 in all the Honda vehicles produced in North America, with the exception of rear-wheel drive vehicles, because those are older transmissions. But very good position. We're supplier number 1 out of 81 suppliers to the Honda transmission plant in Russell's Point, Ohio. We have a very stable position. So I certainly hope that answers your questions, even though it may have been a long way.
Yeah. So my 2018 Honda Pilot probably has Nachi bearings in it. possibly?
2018, no.
No.
That is on a 10-speed transmission. I believe you have a 6-speed transmission with that. So now's a good time to buy it.
There you go. That's right. Now's the time to re-up. Yeah. All right, make a note, get a new car.
Forget the 10-speed.
All right.
You drove a stick.
No, although I have an old Mazda RX-7 that's a stick shift, so I can drive a stick. Best theft deterrent there is. Get a stick. Nobody can drive them these days. Any other questions? Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve resolution 2021-11?
Motion.
Mr. Harris, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Sirs. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, aye? Aye. All those opposed, nay? All right, motion passes unanimously. Appreciate it, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Old business, Riverfront District application for 2030 West Main Street to release music and event center. I don't know that we have anybody, because I told him he didn't have to come back. Does anybody have any questions? No. All right, is there a motion to approve it?
Before you
Yeah,
do that,
you did.
I'll
Say the verbiage, yeah. All right, did you get your computer working there? You got everything?
I think I
Okay,
have
go ahead.
Thank you, yes. And in fact, it does seem to be working now. So that's good. The commission has the duty to review the application, determine whether the proposed project would provide an economic benefit to the Riverfront District, and recommend whether the project site should be considered eligible to be a quote permit premises, end quote, per statute. Any motion to approve the application should also recommend that the project site be considered eligible to be a permit premises and direct the mayor to communicate the approved recommendation to the Alcohol Beverage Commission.
Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
I don't have to repeat your direct. Second by Mr. Any questions? Comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All those opposed, nay?
Nay.
Motion is approved 4-1. Capital project report, Fieldhouse project, contract for goods and installation services, consideration of funding for contract with Grand Slam Safety.
Good afternoon. Where is that? There it is. So, this board has committed $9 million to the Greenwood Fieldhouse project. As part of that is $8 million in change general contract, but there's some loose equipment as well as contingencies in there. The Parks Board actually already signed the contract and vetted it and did all the work for the batting cages, which Rob will tell you about all of the cool things those are. So this is just a request to use part of that already committed money for purchasing the vertical lift batting cages that I will defer to Rob to tell you about. So.
Similar to what you'll see in a gymnasium where they lift up to the ceiling and come down when you want to hit and go up when you want to play basketball, kind of a deal?
Completely stealing. I do have a quick video.
All right, let's see it. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely beats like paying for streets and stuff. This is fun stuff.
So this is a video comparison to show what this actual product will do. Yeah, there you go. It's efficient. It allows us to use the space efficiently. quickly and it'll transition very fast. So the bottom one is an old style batting cage. The top one is the one that's in consideration for tonight. See, we're 20 seconds in and the other one is nearly all the way down. It's down. You guys can see it from that.
Well, I'm surprised that guys on the right aren't cranking something to get that all.
Yeah, so you get the idea. This is how the system works.
What's the final tally on the old one?
What's that?
We don't have to watch it, I just didn't know if you.
How many days
Yeah.
tonight or? I don't think I've ever made it that long. Just keeps going. I think they actually do it at the top one, the one that we're considering a couple times before that one even makes all the way down. We won't, guys get the idea. I think I don't think it off there. Some contextual things, if you guys can understand the space. From a walking track standpoint, it's the space that's within, on the other side of the dashboard system there. And also, the green lines, so the dashboards are laid out flat there, they kind of look like they're glazing. The green lines within that, those are the actual physical dimensions of the batting cage. You can see there's 3 of them. So the dashboard system is 70 feet, 6 inches and some change, and 48 feet, 2 inches and some change. So the total tally on that is $51,000. So asking the RDC consideration for funding for that. As Kevin mentioned earlier, because the necessity for time and in order to be able to design this and get them on site straight away, we went ahead and did parks under contract just to make sure that we stayed on schedule.
And this is second floor south end of the complex, right?
Yeah, it's where the library used to be, up there. Those are familiar facilities.
Any questions for Rod or Kevin? I'll entertain a motion.
A motion.
Mr. Harris.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bud. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye? Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion is approved 5-0. Next up. Thanks, Rob. Consideration of funding for amendment to PSA with Browning Day, 2018 agreement. Parks and Rec Corps.
Yeah, this is a $3,700 ask for funding from the central TIF, I think would be most appropriate. And what this does, it will actually lead to, we believe, a net reduction in cost for the field house project. It takes the proposed development that Adam will have an update on as far as financing, where they're at, and lays over their architectural drawings over the field house. And there was some site work that we had on the field house drawings and that is in the field house contract that won't need to be done in certain areas, because of new stuff that's going to be built around it. So it's shorter irrigation lines, less areas seeded, a couple of areas aren't paved, that were, spec'd and on that. So this is basically does the architecture to do a negative change order because there'll be buildings and other things around the extent of the field house project, if that makes sense.
Any questions for Kevin?
I'll move that we approve the funding as requested.
Is there a second? I'll second. Second by Mr. Harris. All those in favor, aye? Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion is approved 5-0. Old City Park Project, amendment to contract for goods with business art and designs.
Yeah, if you remember, we only included a few signs in the original bid package because we wanted to see how the park was being used. We added some about etiquette that we consulted with Rob on. this one, we consulted, the mayor's office consulted with the library directors. And so this would be 3 signs kind of put on the north end that directs people to, that parking there is for library patrons only. Obviously, you can't, we're not going to be, it's something that's an imperfect enforcement issue, but at least this gets across the message that some of the places up by the library doors can be used for the library, and that there's, other parking on the public lots that surround the park. Obviously, there's commingling both ways, but just trying to do kind of some good faith signage to try to direct people to a portion of their.
Kevin, you said the north end, did you mean the south?
Sorry, the north end of the library property,
Okay.
the south end of our old city park. So if you imagine where those parking spots are, they kind of abut where like the bocce ball is and up along that hill, we would scatter these through there to try to save those for library patrons, specifically during library hours. So it'd be on city land, but look at the parking lot that's technically controlled by the park or by the library board. $867.
Thank you.
Is there a motion? Make that motion. Mr. Moan, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Hoover. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion is approved 5-0.
It might be a little bit before their ends because, as Mr. Cooper knows, I think the library is getting ready for a pretty big construction project, so try to coordinate with them so it's not, in an area where they're actually doing work, maybe lights, some exterior work done.
And for park patrons, up off of Main Street, that's probably more convenient if they just recognize that it was.
Yeah, and then there's a whole lot right there off Serena Way too. And so as I said, that lot and the library lot are kind of fluid. You get patrons from each one that kind of fun there.
Are you processing that like you did the Old City Park project, splitting it, or you have that designated for certain?
Yeah, it just whatever the controller prefers, central or east side. They're both eligible for city parks.
Moving on, financial report.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Kevin.
Good afternoon. Just had a couple quick updates. First, happy to take any questions with the regular monthly financial report, but just for note, that was year-to-date activities through May 31st. Did catch a typo on page 3. We've corrected that and just sent it to your recording secretary as well, so the file copy for the website will be correct for that. Any other questions with regards to your report?
So there was a typo
The typo on page 3 for the Fry Road fund balance, there's extra 2 in there.
That was my question.
I know. I was hoping.
Good job.
I'm like,
Nice work.
that just seems out of line.
We would have.
Yeah, we caught it too.
We would have strongly preferred that number, but unfortunately there was an extra 2 in
Yeah.
that. So we've corrected that and we'll get it. It hasn't been posted to the website yet, but obviously the corrected version.
All right, thank you.
Comfortable if I move on then to item B? Great. So you have each should have received an electronic copy of your proposed 2022 General Fund Redevelopment Commission budget. This is a draft, no actions needed for you all tonight. All we would ask is that you review that and then at your July meeting, make any recommendations for edit or change that would ultimately be included in the mayor's proposed budget to council in August. So what was provided is the current 2021 adopted budget since it was approved last year, the year-to-date actuals per line item through May. And then lastly, the proposed, which is effectively the 2021 approved budget, just carried forward, no changes. So certainly feel comfortable to make edits. Again, no action needed tonight, but at your July meeting, if you could pass a motion to proceed with a recommended budget, that's ultimately what will go in on your behalf to the council in late August or September. Okay. questions with that?
And am I reading it right that there are no changes from the 21 to the 22?
Yes, sir, that's right. And again, I would also disclose for the public, this is just the redevelopment commission's general fund dollars. So this is really the appropriation or budget for the amount of funds that would be spent outside of the tax increment funds. There's a separate appropriation process that we'll do later in the year, specifically to forecast and appropriate the use of eligible TIF funds. This is specifically for the redevelopment commission's department expenses that are authorized outside of being paid from the city's general operating fund. Any other questions there? Otherwise, I'll move on to my last item C. So 523 South Madison has had a lot of work in progress over the last couple months since, I believe it was in March, that ultimately that became that project agreement and that TIF pledge came for this commission. Since that point in time, it is the actual economic development bonds, both the city bond anticipation note and the developer purchase bond have both went before common council. Both of those bond resolutions were passed. And so from a city authorization document standpoint, those steps are complete. The work now has moved towards the developer securing their third-party senior financing. We received a commitment letter from their bank this morning that outlines the parameters of the agreement, the amount that they're subject to finance, as well as anticipated close date, showing that they have essentially secured that initial commitment, and it's been through the bank's review process. We're gearing up then, now progressing towards closing. The city is withholding issuing any of its bonds or transferring any land until subsequent events have happened. So we're progressing through those milestones that were outlined in the project agreement. And really the largest item that's still being worked through is the final design. So in order for the issuance of the building permit. So the majority of that construction was done under one phase. So they're building out all design for all the buildings within phase one. So working actively through that. And we look to have, once we get through design and city review of that design, we'll be scheduling an actual closing date. And then the actual construction would start likely 30, 45 days after the actual closing, which in this case, the closing would be the financing structures as well as the land transfer as well. So I'm happy to take any questions there, but we wanted to provide an update with regards to how that project is trending. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Department reports from the legal department. Mr. Hudson.
Nothing further from the legal department.
We would have let you.
Yeah,
say
you
that
could have
back
screamed
there.
that in the back.
I
Yeah.
can hear me from back
Unless you're
here.
just trying to get your steps in. That's
I
okay.
left all my stuff up here, so it's a good excuse.
All right, Mr. Watson.
Maybe I should walk down there and get my steps. No, nothing today.
All right, thanks, sir. Mr. Wright.
Nothing from me.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Johnston.
Nothing from me.
Oh my gosh, is that a first time ever? Let me put that on the
He
calendar.
did that once before.
Oh, did he? Knock me over with a feather. All right, Mayor Midas.
How you doing?
Pretty good. Thanks, sir. All right. Claims docket, the June 2021 claims docket, the amount of $1,275,437.39. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll motion.
Second, Mr. Harris, second by Mr. Campbell. Any discussion from anybody? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Claims docket is approved 5-0. Any other business that anybody would like to speak about? Hearing none, we will stay adjourned. Thank you, everyone.